Okay. I'm Alicia. How are you doing? Okay, I'm fine. So, this is a bedtime story with me today. And last time I read for you a story by Anton Pavlovich Chekhov, Vanька. So, this time I want to read for you story by Anton Pavlovich Chekhov, Anyuta. Anyuta is woman name like Anne, Anya, Anna. A lot of options. There are Anyuta. Anyuta is like a lovely name. Okay, let's start. In the cheapest room of a big block of furnished apartments, Stepan Klitschkov, a medical student in his third year, was walking to and fro, zealously honing his anatomy. His mouth was dry and his forehead perspiring from the unceasing effort to learn it by heart. In the window, covered by patterns of frost, sat on a stool the girl who shed his room. Anyuta, a thin little brunette of 25, very pale, with a mild grey eyes. Sitting with bent back, she was busy embroidering with red thread the collar of a man's shirt. She was working against time. The clock in the passage struck 2 drowsily. Yet the little room had not been put to rights for the morning. Crumpled bedclothes, pillows thrown about, books, clothes, a big filthy slop ladle filled with soap suds in which cigarette ends were swimming, and a little on the floor. All seemed as though purposely jumbled together in one confusion. The right lung consists of 3 parts, Klitschkov repeated. Boundaries, upper part on anterior wall of thorax reaches the 4th or 5th rib. On the lateral surface, the 4th rib behind to the spinal scapula. Klitschkov raised his eyes to the ceiling, striving to visualize what he had just read. Unable to form a clear picture of it, he began feeling his upper ribs through his waistcoat. These ribs are like the case of a piano, he said. One must familiarize oneself with them somehow, if one is not to get mild over them. One must study them in the skeleton and the living body. I say, Anyuta, let me pick them out. Anyuta put down her 7, took off her blouse, and straightened herself up. Klitschkov sat down, facing her, round, and began counting her ribs. One can't feel the first rib. It's behind the shoulder blade. This must be the second rib. Yes. This is the third. This is fourth. Yes. Who are you wriggling? Your fingers are cold. Come, it won't kill you. It won't kill you. Don't twist about. That must be the third rib. Then this is fourth. You look such a skinny section. And yet one can hardly feel your ribs. That's the second. That's the third. Oh, this is muddle. And one can see it clearly. I must draw it. Where is my green? Klitschkov took his screen and drew on Anyuta's chest several parallels, lines, corresponding with the ribs. First, right? That's all stayed for it. Well, now I can sound you. Stand up. Anyuta stood up and raised her chin. Klitschkov began sounding her and was so absorbed in this occupation that he did not notice how Anyuta's lips, nose, and fingers turned blue with cold. Anyuta shivered and was afraid the student, noticing it, would leave off driving and sounding her, and then perhaps might fail in his exam. Now it's all clear, said Klitschkov when he had finished. You sit like that and don't drop off the green. And meanwhile, I learn up a little more. And the student again began walking to and fro, repeating to himself. Anyuta with black stripes across her chest, looking as though she had been tattooed. Sat thinking, huddled up and shivering with cold. She said very little as a rule. She was always silent, thinking and thinking. In the 6 or 7 years of her wanderings from one furnished room to another, she had known 5 students like Klitschkov. Now they had all finished their studies, had gone out into the world, and of course, like respectable people, had long ago forgot her. One of them was living in Paris. 2 were doctors. The 4th was an artist, and the 5th was sad to be already a professor. Klitschko was the sixth. Soon he too would finish his studies and go out into the world. There was a fine future before him, no doubt, and Klitschko probably would become a great man. But the present was anything but bright. Klitschko had no tobacco and no tea, and there were only 4 lumps of sugar left. She must make haste and finish her embroidering, take it to the woman who had ordered it, and with a quarter ruble she would get for it buy tea and tobacco. "Can I come in?" asked a voice at the door. Anyuta quickly threw a woolen shawl over her shoulders. Fetisov, the artist, walked in. "I have come to ask you a favor," he began, addressing Klitschko, and glaring like a wild beast from under the long locks that hung over his brow. "Do me a favor. Lend me your young lady just for a couple of hours. I'm painting a picture, you see, and I can't get on without a model." "Oh, with pleasure," Klitschko agreed. "Go along, Anyuta." "The slings I've had to put up with there," Anyuta murmured softly. "Rubbish. The man's asking you for the sake of art, and not for any sort of nonsense. Why not help him if you can?" Anyuta began dressing. "And what are you painting?" asked Klitschko. "Psyche. It's a fine subject, but it won't go somehow. I have to keep painting from different models. Yesterday I was painting one with blue legs." "Who are your legs blue?" asked her. "It's my stockings stained them," she said. "And you're still grinding? Lucky fellow. You have patience. Medicine's a job one can get on with without grinding." "Excuse me, Klitschko, but you do live like a pig. It's a fool the way you live." "How do you mean?" "I can help it. I only get 12 rubles a month from my father, and it's hard to live decently on that." "Decently on that." Yes, said the artist, frowning with an air of disgust. "But still you might live better. An educated man is in duty bound to have taste, isn't he? And goodness knows what it's like here. The bed not made, the slope, the dirt, yesterday's breach in the plates. Phew. "That's true," said the student in confusion, "but Anyuta has had no time today to tidy up. She's been busy all the while." When Anyuta and the artist had gone out, Klitschkov lay down on the sofa and began lying down, and then he accidentally dropped asleep. And waking up an hour later, propped his head on his fists and sunk into gloomy reflection. He recalled the artist's word that an educated man was in duty bound to have tastes, and his surroundings actually struck him now as loathsome and revolting. He saw as it were in his mind's eye his own future when he would see his patients in his consultation room, drink tea in a large dining room in the company of his wife, a real lady. And now that a slope pail in which the cigarette ends were swimming looked incredibly disgusting. I knew that two rose before his imagination, a plain, slovenly, pitiful figure, and he made up his mind to part with her at once, at all costs. When she came back from the artist and took off her coat, he got up and said to her seriously, "Look here, my good girl, sit down and listen. We must part. The fact is, I don't want to live with you any longer." Anyuta had come back from the artist worn out and exhausted. Standing so long as a model had made her face look thin and sunken, and her chin sharper than ever. She said nothing in answer to the student's words, only her lips began to tremble. "You know, we should have to part sooner or later, anywhere," said the student. "You're a nice good girl, and not a fool, you understand?" Anyuta put on her coat again. In silence wrapped up her embroidery in paper, gathered together her needles and thread. She found the screw of paper with the 4 lumps of sugar in the window and laid it on the table by the books. "That's your sugar," she said softly, and turned away to conceal her tears. Who are you crying?" asked Klitschko. He walked about the room in confusion and said, "You are strange girl, really. Who you know we shall have to part. We can't stay together forever." She had gathered together all her belongings and turned to say goodbye to him, and he felt sorry for her. "Shall I let her stay on here another week?" he thought. "She really may as well stay, and I'll tell her to go in a week." And vexed at his own weakness, he shouted to her roughly, "Come, who are you standing here? If you are going, go, And if you don't want to take off your coat and stay, you can stay. Anita took off her coat silently, stealthily, then blew her nose also stealthily, sighed, and noiselessly returned of her invariable position on her stool by the window. The student drew his textbook to him and began again pacing from corner to corner. The right lawn consists of 3 parts, he repeated. The upper part on anterior wall of thorax reaches the 4th or 5th rib. In the passage, someone shouted at the top of his voice, "Georgi, the samovar." And that's all in this video story. Okay, thank you so much for watching and see you in next video.